Okay, let's unpack this. We sift through a bunch of sources, articles, analysis, our own notes, basically, to pull out the key insights for you. Today, we're getting into UFC 318. It's going down live from New Orleans, Saturday, July 19th. And yeah, it feels like a real emotional spectacle this time. Huge stakes, legacies really being talked about. And that main event, Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier III for the BMF title. You know, the baddest mother for belt. Symbolic, right? The toughest guy. Our mission today, distilled the best predictions and insights we found in our sources.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, is just how unique this card feels, especially with Dustin Poirier saying this is his retirement fight. It totally makes that main event his swan song, a massive legacy fight, way more than just another bout. And it's interesting seeing how our sources, different experts, are kind of grappling with predicting that outcome, given all the emotion involved.
Right, that emotional part is key. For Holloway versus Poirier III, it's not just another fight for them. It's the third one, they thought. Way back, 2012, Poirier won by submission, a triangle armbar. Then again in 2019, Poirier got the decision. But like you said, things feel different now. Holloway, he looked so sharp in that Justin Gaethje fight. That knockout was insane. So with Poirier retiring, how are the sources handling that emotional factor? Are they agreeing, or is it splitting opinions?
Yeah, it's the big question, isn't it? And yeah, they are split. One source we looked at, they're calling for a 5-round war. They think Poirier, with that grit, that desire to go out on top, he edges it out. A narrow decision. It's sort of that heart prediction.
Okay. Going out with a win.
But then, another source, they're focused on Holloway. His volume striking, especially after seeing what he did to Gaethje. They see him taking a decision. They even called it a potential fight of the year candidate. It just highlights how incredibly close it is at this level. Tiny things can make the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, moving down the card then. The co-main event. Gunnar versus Patricio Pitbull Freire. Pitbull, obviously huge name from Bellator, former champ, trying to make a splash in the UFC after, well, a rough start. But Gunnar is tough. A real gatekeeper, known for his cardio, his power. Not an easy fight for anyone.
Nope. And the sources, they seem pretty unified here. They're leaning towards Idja winning by decision, expecting a stand-up battle, maybe some fireworks. But they think Idja controls the pace, uses his conditioning, keeps it on the feet.
Right. Okay, beyond those top two, the sources flagged a few others. Let's hit those quickly. Middleweight. Marvin Vettori versus Brendan Allen. Vettori trying to get back on track after a couple of losses. Allen's been winning, but kind of quietly, right?
Exactly. And here the sources seem to favor Vettori. Maybe a close decision, even a split. They point to his experience, his pressure, maybe grinding Allen down.
Gotcha. Then welterweight. Neil Magny versus Gunnar Nelson. Sounds like a grappler's delight.
Oh, yeah. Total chess match on the ground is the expectation. And the consensus is Nelson by decision. The idea is his jiu-jitsu, his scrambles. They'll be just a bit better, enough to nullify Magny's reach and control things on the mat.
Okay. And one more main card highlight. Bantamweight.
Yeah.
Kyler Phillips versus Vinicius Oliveira. Sounds explosive.
Yeah, definitely potential for action there. The sources are actually picking Oliveira for a late finish, like a KO or TKO, maybe in the second round, betting on his power.
Interesting. Okay, any honorable mentions we should touch on quickly?
Yeah, a couple stood out. Middleweight, Paulo Costa is back, facing Roman Kopylov. Kopylov hits hard. Sources think Costa gets it done, probably using his strength on the ground, predicting ground and pound, maybe a round 3 TKO or just a decision win via control.
Okay, Costa bringing the power.
And Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Holland's been exciting, racking up bonuses. One source sees a Holland submission, round 2. Another just calls it a potential striking clinic from Holland. Seems they expect Holland to shop.
All right, so let's quickly recap the big predictions then. Main event, Holloway-Poirier heading to a decision, but disagreement on who wins. Then engage over Pitbull by decision. Vettori getting a close decision against Allen. Nelson winning the grappling battle against Magny, also by decision. And Oliveira potentially getting that second-round TKO.
Exactly. And if you connect the dots from all these sources, this deep dive really shows UFC 318 isn't just another fight night. It's packed with emotion, legacy questions, and just potential chaos. You see it in the predictions. Even the experts aren't totally sure on some of these huge fights. It shows you how unpredictable things can get, especially with stakes this high.
So what does this all mean for you watching at home? Well, think about that emotional side, especially with Poirier's last fight. How does that kind of pressure change things? Does it fuel him? Does it create openings? It just adds another layer of unpredictability to an already stacked card. Definitely something to keep in mind when those cage doors lock.